What is going on, Raider Nation? It's your boy Samoa Raider back at it again with another episode of the Samoa Raider Show. It's been quite a while since I've done a live show like this, but of course, I know most of you guys are tuning in right now. So if you guys are in the chat and you guys can hear me, let me know down in the comments below so I know everything's going well. Of course, you guys know I got a special guest with me today, which I'm gonna bring in pretty soon. I see you, AP fired. Nah, I don't think he'll be fired anytime soon right now, but. Okay, I see some people coming in right now. Okay, I see you, AO Raider. Okay, Aiden ain't ready. He needs. Nah, chill. It is what it is right now. We don't really got much to fight for. Okay, I see everybody coming in, pulling in right now. I see you ready to critique. Yes, sir. Oh yeah, man, for sure, man. Got one of your favorite linebackers. Oh man, he was one of my favorite linebackers too. But I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna waste any more time. I just wanted to make sure everything was rolling and whatnot. But of course, you guys know I got former Raiders linebacker, actor, and now a YouTuber. My guy Miles Burris, man. Let's bring him in right now, man.
Yeah.
What's good, man? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I got you good. You hear me?
Yeah. Can you guys hear him as well? I just want to make sure they can hear you guys. Yeah. I think Raider Critique. He's one of the guys. He said that you were one of his favorite linebackers.
Love it.
Back then, man. So yeah, well, while everybody's coming in right now, man, how's everything been going with you, especially with Thanksgiving right around the corner, man?
Yeah, dude, it's been good. It's been good. Like I was saying, man, the kids are already asleep, so this is the perfect interview time. I'm cruising. Everybody's healthy, happy. 4-year-old boy, 2-year-old daughter. Um, Having fun watching some ball this year. Getting my son into it. I tell him, hey man, we're Raider fans. This is just what it is. It's
Damn,
how it works around here.
it's been a tough. It's been really tough this year, man.
Yeah. For whatever reason, the first time I was kind of talking to him about football, it was a Saturday. I said, "Yeah, we're not going out to do this, that, or the other. We're watching college football today." So
Yeah.
every time I'm watching football, he goes, "Daddy, you watching college football?" Yeah, no, it's the Raiders. It's the Raiders now, buddy. Yeah, college football. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, he's getting into it. He's getting into it. He'll watch it, and then he starts tackling me. It's things are going well.
Oh, that's what's up. You're getting them ready, man.
Oh yeah.
Hey, speaking of college football, I think that's more enjoyable than the Raiders season so far. So, who's the team that you've been like eyeing, or like one of the teams that you're like kind of like into right now?
As far as college football, you
College
said?
football, yeah.
Just because. So I haven't. I'll preface by saying I don't follow with immense like detail or scrutiny on any teams. I think naturally I've been most interested in Colorado just because
Yeah.
they're just the hype train right now,
Mhm.
and I think subtly or subconsciously because Dion has kind of made a blueprint that is his own and somehow created that hype train. He has a lot of media hype behind him, no matter what, because of who he is, how he
Yeah.
speaks, how he carries himself, and his history. But just barely tuning in at all through socials and on TV. It's just you're constantly hearing about Colorado. You're constantly hearing about Shador Sanders and Deion Sanders and Hunter and everybody over there. So I'm like, okay, well let's tune in and see what's up. And I haven't watched enough game film on any of them to really have a strong opinion on like, okay, this guy's legit or not. It just you know.
Just
Uh,
lots of fun.
I like what I hear. I'll say that. I like what I hear about Shador Sanders based on what everybody's saying, the pro Shador Sanders to Raiders people. I
Mhm.
think because, they're talking about like he's got all this history with Brady, and they, are pretty close. And if that's true, that means Brady has to like his mindset, and nobody can argue with Brady's mindset. And yeah, I mean, I haven't seen his film, but that stuff I like to hear. I also liked. I don't know if you'll. Sorry, I'm rambling to start with.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
You saw him take that hit, that nasty hit in the.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what I did like about that is, and I think this is something I like about him in general. He's never rattled. He's never like. He's always pretty calm. His demeanor is always even keel.
yeah.
And even after that hit, he only came out for a play. I think because he had to, and even his dad was checking on him, like he's good, and he was right back in the next play, and he didn't make a big deal out of it. He got right back in there. I liked that toughness, and I also liked that he wasn't freaking out about it. That's somebody who, yeah, I don't know, I can't even find the words for it, but his
Yeah.
well, I think.
Yeah, I kind of seen, yeah, that's one thing I seen, and then it already seems like he's kind of like Raider ready, because he's not gonna get those calls um with the Raiders if he was to come over here. And I was like, dang, the way he just got back up and just kept playing. I kind of seen the same thing with Cam Ward as well. I know those are the two names that a lot of Raider fans are kind of excited about as far as right now. But I mean, I'm a big Texas Longhorns fan, so they're pretty good right now, and I mean, they're somebody to root for right now. But as far as the Raiders, it's been kind of tough though. But yeah, I mean, there has been talks too, like that I've heard about with possibly Deion Sanders coming to the Raiders. I don't know how
I would
true that
think
would be.
I mean, I feel like Dion is one of those guys too that kind of knows exactly what to play into and what not,
Yeah,
and you don't necessarily know how legit anything is until it happens. But he wants to feed certain hype trains to have options. You know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And that would be pretty cool, though. I'd be interested, especially because Dion understands, and he was prime time. Like he understands the NFL mentality and how that dynamic is, and probably how to be a great players coach.
Yeah,
And that's important in the league, just because guys are getting paid millions of dollars.
yeah,
It's not like college, at least what college used to be, where
yeah,
you better do what the coach says, or you're going to be running until you puke after practice and doing all this stuff you don't want to, and you just have to go with it because you're trying to make the league and you have to play.
yeah,
Um, that dynamic is very different in the league because money's involved, and he knows how to deal with that really well, and he's doing that already. I think in college, because it basically is semi-pro ball now. I mean, it's pro ball. Let's be honest. I mean, like everybody's getting paid, and then the studs are getting paid, and there's anybody could be gone the very next year. There can't. It's not probably the same kind of loyalty dimension that you have from team to team, because coaches could be gone, players could be
yeah.
gone. The power dynamics are just all over the place now. When money complicates things, man.
Do you think that the money, like now that so many players in college are getting paid so much, even more than like rookie contracts, do you think that kind of sets them up for the NFL a little bit better? That they could
Yeah,
possibly get their money a little bit better before going to the league?
that's crazy. I never even thought about that. They're getting paid better than rookie contracts
Oh yeah,
already.
most of them are, especially that one quarterback that I think Underwood. I think he went to Michigan. He got 12.5 mil or 10.5 mil.
Get
Yeah,
out.
4 year, 10.5 mil. He committed to LSU, and then I guess Michigan came in with an offer. He pulled out and went to Michigan for 10.5 mil. Like
Bro,
damn, quarterback.
you said it there, so they have like legit like player contracts. You said 4 years, 10 or 12
Yeah,
mil.
that's what it says. 4 years. So I'm like, does he have to stay the whole 4 years, or I don't
Yeah.
know how it works.
I wonder how that works. I'm sure he could still dip. He just didn't get paid for the back.
Yeah, for the back end probably. Uh, I see Monster Meat in here. Pause on that name, but he said, "Is this the dude from the Disney movie?" Yeah, Safety. Yeah,
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So depending on the age demographic, oftentimes there's like, if I'm on TikTok, it's like every second comment. Are you the dude from Safety?
It's either that or what was it, Young Rock or any of these
Yep.
other shows.
Yep.
And funny thing about it, because I know we talked before and whatnot. I didn't really know too much about Righteous Gemstones, but after we talked, I actually watched the whole. Like I watched the whole thing because you were in it, and
Yeah.
it was actually a pretty cool show. Like, damn, I
Yeah.
loved it, and it's funny because just seeing a dynamic from like a mega church, because I'm Christian too, so like seeing like the comedy behind it was like hella hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. That was my one hesitation going into the part that, and they wanted me to they wanted me to do the scene where I stick my Johnson through this hole and it pokes Keith in the eye. I was like, no, bro, I can't do it. And I had my manager talk to Cassie, and they said, no, it'll be fake. And I'm like, yeah, but
Okay.
my grandma,
Oh yeah,
so my best friend's mom tunes in, or they're not just gonna think that's my dong. And so like, yeah, no problem. We'll give that action to another player. Or
oh, they did give it
another,
to another person.
well, they just gave that part of the scene that
Yeah.
they wanted my character to do. They had a different character do it.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but that my hesitation too is I'm a Christian. I was like, man, without watching it, you just assume, oh, they're making fun of
Yeah,
what I believe. And I watched a Danny McBride interview that kind of sold me. He's like, that's not what this is about at all. We don't make fun of anything anyone believes. It's just a matter of like turning on its head people who have
yeah,
used their power for people who are in need. And I was
yeah.
like, oh, okay, I could get behind that. And then it's just they play into the comedic tropes of that world so well, and the muscle men, strong men. It was fun.
No, that definitely was pretty cool. But uh, I want to kind of get into like the Raider talk right now because I
Mhm.
know the season has been kind of tough. You've been following the Raiders a little bit more this season, I see, and
Yep.
especially with the YouTube channel too, man. You've been killing it with even just giving your input on the perspective of a former player. Like, how do you feel like the season has gone so far for the Raiders?
Bummer. But
Yeah,
nothing we're not used to. Football is a weird. It's interesting in the fact that everybody, player or fan, goes into every season. Just about everybody high hopes, regardless of what the roster is or what it looks like, or if things have changed a whole lot or they haven't. Everyone's like, no, this is our year. And then, you get smacked in the mouth a couple games in and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not our year. And it's kind of, it's a bummer because Raiders fans have had that for quite some time.
yeah,
And that wears on you, especially when, the fans kind of keep it going. And you're tuning in every week and you're hoping for a better outcome.
yeah,
And I really wanted, and was hoping that Minshew was going to come in and kill it, and every players have up years, down years, and it was unfortunate. It was a hard one. I think a lot of people don't understand, like, switching teams in general is really difficult because you got to learn a new system. A lot easier, I'd say, maybe on the defensive side of things, depending on position. But quarterbacks, no matter what, it's going to be pretty difficult. Um, Even if it's a relatively similar system, the language is going to be different. How it's communicated, and getting to know the different players and being synced up with the wide receivers, that's different as well. So you just never. I always say, like, on paper, things might stack up really well, and say this player is going to kill it in this system because X, Y, and Z, and his talents suit our offense really well, but you never actually know until they hit the field. And then it kind of makes sense, and you can connect all the dots and be like, oh, yeah, I can see why maybe this didn't work out, or, oh, I didn't even think about this, but he's great at this part of our offense I never even connected a dot on. Um, and so, again, I was bummed for him. I think he's just got such a cool demeanor and attitude, and I think most of the time that kind of relaxed demeanor that he has, it serves you really well in the game, especially for quarterbacks or the people that have to take risks and throw the ball and have a lot of pressure. If they can not wear it, where you have a little bit of this feeling of, like, don't care, that actually serves you pretty well, because then you can let loose and be instinctive.
no, for sure. And I know it's um it's AP's very first season as a head coach, and I feel like it's kind of been like up and down, or mostly down, I guess. But I think riding off the high of last season, a lot of us had a lot of high expectations for AP this year. But I wanted to get your thoughts a little bit on like how AP has done in his very first season as the head coach, and what you've seen from like a player's perspective.
Yeah, I think the situation that he's in is, it's very difficult because he did come in as the interim. And sometimes you do see that, right? You see that teams that fire their head coach midseason, the interim comes in. There's almost like people are waiting for a new energy, and whatever that energy is, they're going to receive it with an anticipation of it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah,
And and we saw that last year. He did really well stepping in there. And there's also kind of that dimension of, like, okay, I don't have a lot of expectation on me, and somehow that can help your mentality, just like the point with Gardner. Like that, sometimes when people don't expect much at all of you, and
yeah,
you're just an interim coach, and you can come in there and freewheel it and take your shots and take risks, and
yeah,
you got nothing to lose. And then you come in. I'm sure he had to be very involved in who the hirings were and say, hey, this is my guy because of X, Y. He could go to bat. I don't know how much of it is completely on him to bring in the assistant coaches and what they brought.
yeah.
Uh, but it certainly didn't pick up where it left off. You know what I mean? It's been a tough go. Um, yeah, so it's hard for me to judge, like, how well he's done. I mean, it's obviously easier to say not well because the team's not doing well.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, like, a team should have to stick with the choices that they made. Like, there's been a lot of over the past 5 or more years, this thing of, like, that rookie savior syndrome, where we expect people to come in
And turn
and
things around right away. Yeah.
be a top 10 quarterback right away, or even a top 20. Dude, that's really, like, that's so far from a bust. If somebody is, like, even starting. It used to be like Peyton Manning. The Colts had to stick with that decision. He led the NFL in interceptions when he came into the
Yeah, only 3 wins
stick
too.
that out and let guys stick it out. But it used to be that first round, draft picks were developed for a few years and then they put them in there. Um, and it's kind of that way with coaches too. It's like if you're going to make a decision, you got to at least give them a couple years, and even that's pretty quick. But it's just the name of the game now is to bring people in and move on really quickly before they've had their fair shake to really bring things together the way they want to.
Yeah, and especially as like Raider fans and being a part of this organization, at least like rooting for this team, we've done that a lot. Like there's always been like new regimes after new regimes. I mean, since the last time you've been here, there's been multiple regimes coming in and out of here, and like I always like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I said the same thing about Josh McDaniels last year. Was I would give him 3 years, no matter how bad it's been looking and whatnot, just to see how it pans out. But I know he had what like 1.5 years, and right now with AP, even though it's not looking good right now, and it's easy to say let's fire him right away, but I would give him another chance, I guess, and just see what he does this offseason. I mean, we don't have the quarterback and stuff like that, but I feel like right now going into the offseason, I think we're in a prime position to kind of like revamp this team a little bit. We're gonna get a top pick. We don't know where, but we got a lot of money going into the offseason. So I feel like if we give him another chance, we'll see. But I know that there's a lot of other fans that want to just move on and find a more decorated guy at the position
Yeah,
and see what we can do from there.
yeah,
Uh,
it's understandable.
no, no, yeah, and one thing that I like a lot of fans are going back and forth with this season so far. I mean, at least for right now, is the whole tanking thing, because I know you could be on both sides of the spectrum. Because right now, like I'm never a fan that would wants to go out there and lose. I always want us to win, but I mean I don't mind like getting a top pick if that's what it costs for us to lose a couple games. But from a player's perspective, because we know we kind of heard about we heard Max kind of talk about this, the tanking situation. Of course, he shot that down, saying that nobody's trying to tank, but I think as a fan, it's a little bit different from a player's perspective. So I wanted to ask you on that, like, what do you feel about possibly the Raiders going out and tanking the rest of the season just to get a top pick in the draft?
Yeah, I think to go along with what Max Crosby was saying, like I, for the longest time, thought the tanking thing was just a joke. I thought it was just something that fans would talk about on the internet, like let's
Yeah,
tank for this guy, tank for that guy, until I saw it was like being seriously talked about, and then I was like, oh, do people not realize that tanking's not real? Like
yeah, we're
some,
just bad guys.
yeah, it's, I mean, you can't sync up the entire staff upstairs, all the coaches, all the players, all these people whose livelihoods are on the line to somehow work together to not give anything but their best when nothing's guaranteed in the league, and you could be a superstar today and gone tomorrow if you don't put out. NFL is not for long. It's what have you done for me lately, and that goes from top to bottom. Um, only person that's safe there is the owner to stick around. So
Yeah,
one thing that's the thing there is like if there was in some wild world the staff and they're on the same page, hey, we're going to make these moves and start this guy and do this so that we lose and we can get a higher draft pick. There's too many alphas in that one place. There's going to be way too many revolts there. You're not going to be able to get everybody on board, and that kind of stuff would get out. um, And so, yeah, tanking's not really a real thing. I understand, why some fans would hope that it is and would hope that we would tank to get the best picks. But that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's kind of this, rookie savior mindset. It's kind of a weak mindset, really.
yeah,
And what I'm hoping, really, that bringing Tom Brady in as a minority owner and Seymour, some of these guys that they have strong mindsets. Like I think that is the greatest. There's a lot of great things that Brady could bring to the table for us, as far as understanding talent. Who might translate well to the league, but bigger than that is his mindset. Like you do not make it. You don't make it to the league at all without some sort of a mindset. You don't make it past your rookie contract without it. You don't make it 2 decades plus like he did it without that. Like he's the greatest of all time.
yeah.
And if he can make that contagious within that place. Like anytime he's around, people, it's Tom Brady. Like you're going to give
Right.
your all and then some. And so that's what I'm hoping he can instill a little bit, is that mindset. And also understanding that, like, with guys like that, with all these superstars that are now coming in together to pour into the Raiders, it's like there's so many other ways than just going through the draft. I know I've talked about this in some of my videos. Even top overall draft picks, there's a high likelihood of them busting. Like, there's
Yeah.
first round picks have a 50% bust rate. And that doesn't mean they had an awful career. They just didn't live up to the expectations of them being a Hall of Famer and them, getting re-upped and being the guy for 10 years. Most of the time, that's not going to happen. And so it's like you're throwing all your hope onto, this first round pick we got is going to be the answer for us. And then it's going to be a big upset if it doesn't. When really, like, there's so many ways to win. It's not tank or don't tank. I mean, you bring the right people around to bring the right players around that might fit the system because of X, Y, and Z that's over our head, and developing them the right way and knowing what they can turn into because of mindset, et cetera. There's a lot more ways than just that. Now, I hope we get a great player, but
Same here.
Tom Brady himself was a 7th rounder, so we just don't know what's out there.
That's true. And Max Crosby was a 4th rounder too.
Yeah.
So I mean, you were 4th
That's
rounder
wild.
too. But it's crazy that you say that though, because like I that's another thing that I've heard as well. Like, why should we tank? Because we haven't done much in the first round, especially the past couple of years.
Yeah.
The year we had 3 first round picks, we don't have none of those players on this team anymore. So I guess it goes back and forth, and I just think that the draft always gives us a little bit of hope, something to look forward to as fans, because I am a fan too. So. Like I think a lot of us just want to see something new, and especially seeing that the biggest need for us was a quarterback this year. It's like, okay, let's go get that guy next year. Who can be that guy? Shador? Could it be sent? I mean, Cam or whatnot. But I guess one quarterback that didn't want to come over here was Daniel Jones. So I wanted to talk about Daniel Jones a little bit. It
Did we
shows how bad you are.
make a play for him?
We did. The Raiders were interested after Gardner Minshew was out for the rest of the season. It was announced. There was reports going around that the Raiders are interested in Daniel Jones, and then he shot that down yesterday, saying that he ruled out the Raiders because he wants to go to a contender. And I was like, well, that's not us, It's got to be
Yeah.
that bad that Daniel Jones doesn't want to come over here. But I think he wants to ride the train on a contender, probably like a David Carr, kind of just be a backup somewhere where he could go and at least win something. But I guess today he signed with the Vikings, so.
Oh,
I
wow.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know how far they'll go.
Yeah, that's interesting though. So he did go to a team that could be a contender, but I mean, he knows he's not going to start over there.
Yeah,
He came over here and played probably day one.
yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah. So I'm gonna get into the comments a little bit, but then later on in the show, I'm gonna just ask you guys in the comments if you guys want to ask questions, you guys can, and we'll do that at the end. But I seen a funny one from my guy. He said that Jamarcus Russell was set up for failure like AP. Any thoughts on that? I don't know. That's my boy Joe. I don't know if he's really serious about that.
Jamarcus, yeah, man, I don't remember those days as well. But what I
Oh,
heard, I mean, Jamarcus Russell wasn't really putting in a whole lot of effort.
yeah. I remember when they said that they gave him DVDs or something to go watch tape. He said, "Yeah, I did," and it was all blank CDs. He said, "I watched it all." I was like, "Damn, bro."
What was your favorite part? It was all of it was really good.
I like it, especially the first CD. Oh man. TJ says the Raiders should have traded for Kyler Murray when the Cardinals had a shitty year. Raiders let go oh so many good windows closed by not being aggressive and cheap. I don't know how serious the Raiders would have been able to get Kyler Murray. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, that sparked a lot in my brain. I'm trying to capture the thoughts right now in real time.
Yeah,
Um, One, because I thought, hey, that's actually a really good point. And one of the things in the NFL that sometimes gets too strong is narratives and people buying into narratives. And the NFL, like I said earlier, is what have you done for me lately? So every narrative is so strong, and it's like to shape the public opinion because analysts nowadays are having to compete with TikTok and warp your brain and come in hot and scream and tell you this is this guy's take. I've been in those meetings before, by the way, and this was
yeah,
years ago when I was playing. I did a job shadow at NFL Films, the meeting is just a normal room, and they're talking and like, well, so this take or this player, going into this year, what do you think? And it's like, yeah, he's a stud. Yeah, he's a stud. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he's going to do well, and he's because of X, Y, and Z, and somebody just comes in just a little bit more, and they're like, all right, let's roll with that. And then he comes on there, and he's, this guy's blah, 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 and it's like shaping the entire masses opinion of who this player is,
Yeah.
just off of like a super nonchalant decision. But that's the world we live in. And so if you're playing really well, the narrative is that this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And that can go away like that. So when Kyler had a bad year, to that comment's point, it is actually a good, if you have a good understanding of the game, and you understand that, players have up years and down years, but this guy's still a stud and he can come in and produce for us.
Yeah.
That's a good way to play it, of like, who had a bad year, because their cost is going to be a whole lot lower. Now on the other side of that, like, Kyler's got a great agent who's gotten him paid,
Oh yeah.
so I doubt that they're going to let him go for cheap.
Well, especially now because they're doing a pretty good job right now. I mean,
Yeah.
there was other quarterbacks that I really wanted to bring over here. Like I know Justin Fields is a name that been floating around in the offseason, but I knew he probably wasn't going to come over here because of Lou Getsy. And then another name was Russell Wilson. So I know it's so easy to like just get on Russell Wilson because he was doing so bad over there in Denver, but
Yeah.
I still felt like he was a solid veteran quarterback, and what he's doing over there with the Steelers right now.
Yeah.
I can't be mad at that. I'm happy for him and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then another quarterback that I talked about last offseason was Bo Nix. And to see what he's doing with the Broncos right now, because
Mhm.
everybody they thought that he was like one of the worst quarterbacks or the worst quarterback out of that bunch last year. And to see what he's doing with the Broncos, man, it just takes taking a chance on one of these guys, because at the end of the day, you can't really predict if they're going to be good or bad. You could just go off of what they've done. I mean, I remember when we drafted Jamarcus Russell, he was the number one quarterback. Anybody would have drafted him with the
Undisputed.
number one pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when he came in, his ethic didn't really pan out. But yeah, I guess that's just
To
my
your
thoughts.
point on that too, with Russell Wilson, it's like, yeah, everybody hopped on that train. Russell Wilson's done. He's no good. It's like, how can you say that, one, with the resume,
Yeah,
and to think that just in one season that he's bad and now he's got no good football left ahead of him? It's almost like common sense that no, he could still be a great quarterback in this league, but one down year can completely shift the narrative
yeah,
of a player, which is wild to think about. But you saw it in Bo Nix as well. Like, he started out terrible this season,
yeah,
and that the big narrative was like, he's probably not the guy, and they're ready to move on from their top draft pick so quickly. You even heard rumblings of that with Caleb Williams, or is it? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and they're like thinking about benching him, and I'm like, dude, first off, everybody overhyped this guy. You guys, lay in that bed because you did this to yourself, him not playing well, and
yeah,
you overhyping him like he's Michael Jordan. You shouldn't mention his name as in the same sentence as Michael Jordan before
yeah.
he's put on a football field. But that kind of stuff, man, it's just. And now Bo Nix is playing better, and people are, oh yeah, Bo Nix, he's our guy. Of course, we knew that. It's just that football didn't used to be this way. The NFL.
No, no, for sure. And looking at from the outside, I mean, looking at the team from the outside looking in, if you were in the coaching staff or if you were behind the doors and stuff like that, what do you think the biggest need for the Raiders is, like going into the offseason? Because we know that this year's basically over. What would you do to turn this team around? Or I guess what kind of moves would you make?
Bring Brady in to talk to him often. I
Uh-huh.
would. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that often, but semi regularly. Just let him even be around there. Let him tell stories of like his mindset, and what football means to him. If you can almost kind of turn that locker room into its own fraternity of like, get in or get out. We're
Yeah,
here for it. Like, this means the world to us. This isn't just, I'm here to get paid and get my check and get out of here. This is a real culture. And Brady knows how to set that. So if you're going to bring him in as a minority owner, he's going to bring some value. That's the value he can bring. Even
yeah,
greater than finding the right players, it's the mindset. There's so much that mindset plays into this league. Um, it's what makes the dog. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
stack the same physical traits next to each other, and you're going to bet on that dog every day of the week.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a huge advantage for the Raiders right now.
Yeah,
And I mean, there's been reports saying that Tom Brady is going to have a lot of say in what's going to be going on from here on out. So I hope that helps out a lot because I know Mark Davis isn't one guy that knows much about making those decisions and stuff like that. But hopefully, Tom Brady, especially in finding the next quarterback, that he could see, I guess, the values that that next quarterback might be. And I know Shador
no doubt.
Sanders is possibly the guy that everybody's been wanting, but I guess it just depends on what the Raiders do from here on out. You know?
Yeah, right. I mean, the next thing I was going to say is quarterback. Obviously, that's the most
Yeah.
glaring need. Um, and that's the other piece of Tom Brady. There is like if Tom Brady backs a certain guy, and he's putting his chips in that guy, like my chips are there too, because he knows a whole lot more than anybody about any quarterback play and mindset type things. And if he knows that guy personally, Shador, like if that's where he's at, that's where I'm at, because none of us are. If Tom Brady picks a bust, nobody can talk smack. Okay, nobody's gonna pick better than him. Knowing what he knows, it's just if it happens, it happens. But yeah, I mean, he knows this game in and out, and I want that. I would hope that he has a lot of leverage in saying like, "Hey, this is a great player because X, Y, and Z."
Yeah. So, what do you think about like Aiden O'Connell? Like from what you've seen, like Aiden O'Connell. I know he's gonna be starting this week against the Chiefs. Like, what is your thoughts on him and how he's been playing? Well, I know he's coming back, but previously,
Yeah, I mean, I know he broke his thumb, and it's on the throwing hand, right? Isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, one, I'd be interested just to see how the ball's coming out, because sometimes you just you're chomping at the bit to get back in the game. But with an injury like that affects your throwing hand, you kind of wonder how much pain is he still in when he's throwing it and releasing it, and what is he just saying? Oh, it's fine. Um, but that being said, I think he deserves to start the remainder of the season. I think just going back to like he's a team guy. He's been for the team. He's been there whenever we needed him, and called on his number. And he deserves to. He's been with us for a while, and he's started with us many times before. Um, Let him take the reins and kind of take it from here on out. See how he does.
yeah. My my other co-host that I had on the podcast, he told me before that Aiden O'Connell has shades of Tom Brady. So I don't know about how much that is right now, but like I guess like if the Raiders do bring in a quarterback next year and the draft or whether in free agency, do you see the Raiders like starting him right away or just giving him time?
That's a good point. It depends on the influences in the building, and kind of I don't know today's game too, because I was thinking, okay, is Tom Brady? What is his take on that kind of thing? Does he like starting rookies right away? How much pull and leverage is he even going to have on that decision? But
Yeah,
two, then you bring in a Shador Sanders. You got this media hype train, and things are different in today's game than they were back in his. So, you keep a Shador Sanders on the sideline or a first round pick now on the sidelines. These days, everybody's going to be up in arms and be screaming for him to get in the game. I think it's a kind of an inevitability that whoever we draft at quarterback in the first round is going to be a day one starter.
yeah,
Probably even a OTA's day one starter. And to Aiden O'Connell's point of the last question, I think he's a great backup to have. He's a proven great backup quarterback if he's needed.
yeah. No, no, no. I mean, Tom Brady did talk about this. I forgot where, but he said that nowadays uh many teams just throw the quarterbacks out there. That's why so many quarterbacks are not like succeeding like they all expect them to be. Because
Yeah,
not everybody can be like what CJ Stroud was last year or years prior. But you look at guys like Bryce Young who was just thrown into the mix, and now he's kind of like all over the place. Trey
yeah,
Lance the same way. Well, no, Trey Lance got to sit for a while, but he's one of those guys that is like for like sitting a rookie quarterback just so they can learn everything the first year and then come in the second year. But I like to your point, I don't think Raider fans have or even the Raiders organization has that much patience to just draft a high quarterback and just let them sit a whole
no
year.
doubt. And
Yeah.
that's the problem too. That's the problem, is that almost nobody in the league has the patience for that, and so
Yeah.
they do start him right away. And you have to understand, like, you're learning on the fly while drinking out of a fire hose all season long.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
a quarterback, like I came in as a rookie in a 4-3 defense, and they put me at the will just to not have to probably think a lot, fly around and make plays. And that's what I did. I mean, I didn't know everybody's job. Like I didn't know what was going on all the time, but you line up and you're like, I think I've got the B gap and run and hook curl and and you just see ball, get ball. Imagine from a quarterback, man, you're having to know
you got a
and get
lot.
everybody lined up and know based on what the deep like, and especially with college nowadays, they're not, they're transferring every year. They're not learning any systems. They're just kind of running and gunning it and triple option this and gun it downfield and letting talent win out and you come into the league, it's like from a quarterback perspective, it's really difficult to adjust mentally.
Yeah,
And so then you throw them in the game right away and they don't play well because you don't want to switch anything in your offense, but you also want to start your quarterback day one. And it's like you can't have both, man. You got to either dumb it down for him or make it simple
yeah.
for him and his last, system that he was in college, or change the language, simplify it so he can win, or you just don't play him and you run the offense with somebody that understands it right away. And so to your point, I think giving it a year to really understand is a great play, so that you don't put him in there too soon and everybody hates him now and his confidence is shot, and
Yeah.
you just move on from him and you throw these amazing players in the trash, and you never know if they're going to have a Baker Mayfield type second chance in a system where they can thrive.
No, that's true. So, like, with that said, with Shador Sanders, of course, that's a big name for the Raider Nation. Do you feel like he's like set up for the NFL perfectly, or do you feel like he'll be too much of a distraction with everything going on with him for the Raiders at least?
That's a great question. I like again, I haven't seen him play enough. I also haven't like followed him enough to see what his personality is like and how he deals with the media. Because there are certain people that they tweet too much, or they say really controversial things all the time, or they do weird stuff when a camera's in front of them. You might be able to speak to that a little better than me as far as how he is with that. I mean, the little that I have seen of him, um, he seems to have a lot of charisma, and he's got a lot of he's opinionated, but it's like you have to understand the family he comes from too. Dion being his dad, but too, like when he's on the field, you'd expect maybe that he wild emotions is very even keeled.
Yeah,
Really important for a quarterback to kind of remain stoic and not too high, not too low, not be all over the place emotionally. Again, when he got his bell rung and got that dirty hit, like that was I liked his response to that.
yeah.
So, but yeah, again, I wouldn't. I'm not the expert on that one, probably.
No, no, you're good. You're good. Um, a point that my boy Joe put in the chat, like, with the Raiders, losing as much as they did, and I know when you used to play for the Raiders, we lost a lot as well. Like, how did it feel as a player to deal with it week by week, knowing that you guys been losing? Like, how do you stay motivated? I guess to go out there week in, week out.
That's a great question. It's really tough, and everybody's brains and how they process things are wildly different. Everybody's upbringing is very different. Everybody's motivational styles are very different. But motivation is one of those things that like it dwindles, and you got to refill it or find the way that's best for you to refill it each and every day that you go out there. Um, you got to find different little motivators, because football, any sport is there's a lot of, sorry, are you still there? My screen went weird on me.
Oh no, no, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Um, Football, if you ride the momentum of what people are saying about you or where the morale is at any given time,
Yeah,
um, as a player, your job is kind of to find a way to bring your best, and that's on you. Nobody can want it for you. So I like, the dogs that go out there that are like, they're just so strong minded that it doesn't matter if they've lost every game that season, or if they've gotten just flattened and humiliated on live television. Um, if they're down 40 that game, like if they're going to be foaming at the mouth and finding a way to get their job done violently the next play, Like
Yeah.
that's somebody to me. You can call it crazy, you can call it what you want, but like that's somebody that's strong minded. That's not going to let anything or anybody or anybody's opinion dictate how big they come or how small they come. And that can come in many different shapes or forms. It doesn't have to be, a Richie Incognito situation. Even though I love that, you love having that kind of a guy on your team. You hate
Yeah.
playing against him, but damn it, it's great when that guy's on your team
Yeah.
too. But it can just be that guy that is stoic, that's even keeled, that doesn't talk at all. And you just know that you better bring your lunch pail every time because he's never going to let down, and he's never going to let you easy off a block. He's never going to turn down. And I see. I'd have to I'd have to look back at some of the other games, but you see that in some people, they purposely, even in pregame, and maybe they're doing it subconsciously, but this I believe is the subconscious reason. There's people that talk smack and get everybody riled up on the other team and piss them off so that they have their back against the wall, so that they know everybody's coming after me. I'm in this big fight or flight state and I have to bring it. And it brings
Yeah.
the best out of themselves to do that. I mean, first guy that comes to my mind, Cortland Finnegan, he was always doing that. He was always trying to piss everybody off. And that puts you in this state where like, you have to back that up now. You backed yourself into a corner. There's no way out but through it. And I respect that because that's scary as hell.
He's the
But
one with Andre Johnson, huh?
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it turns
I
out
remember, I remember that.
Sometimes it turns out that way, but I bet he kept going with it. I bet he showed up, he kept talking smack.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I agree with you on that. I wanted to ask you, like, I guess from a linebacker's perspective, like, what is your thoughts on, I guess, Robert Spillane? Because I know he's been, for me, like the best linebacker we had in quite a while. We never really addressed the linebacker situation a lot, but he's been one of those guys that we brought in and just, has become a fan favorite and just been all over the field.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this in the past too. Like, I'm shocked that we haven't re-upped him yet. You don't want that guy to hit the open market. He's 28 years old. He's in the prime of his career, and the trajectory has only been upward his entire career. And then especially this year, from last year to this year. Last year he was great and
Yeah,
solid. This year he just went boom. Like he's not only like that blue collar, like show up every day, every game, every play, be dependable. But now he's turning into like, I'm also dependably going to make some big plays too.
yeah,
And that is really important, especially for his position, because he gets everybody lined up too. Wildly, wildly valuable and wildly underrated for our defense. I mean, Raider fans know what he brings, I think, for the most part. But
yeah,
from the general context of the NFL, I think he's still very underrated, and he's so incredibly valuable for our defense and what he brings and how he gets everybody lined up. He is an X's and O's guy, but he's also in plays on instincts. You can just tell he's not rattled by anything. He's got great awareness. He can determine where the cutback lanes are going to be really well, where the ball is going to go. That's kind of a sixth sense to a degree. And yeah, man, I got only good things to say about Robert Spillane. I really, really hope we don't let another good one get away.
oh man, same here. I mean, you bring up a good point. We should be re-upping them pretty soon.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to go over some comments because I just seen some of them. Shout out to Rogue. He said that you should come in and train the squad in conditioning. What do you think about that? like, like you put on some pads, help out
Yeah.
that.
And I'm sure I could do that. I never saw myself going down the strength and conditioning path, but it's something I've always been really interested in. And yeah, you never know.
Yeah. My boy Raider John says discipline over motivation always wins out. That's true.
No doubt. Yep, that's strong.
Um, okay, so my guy Joe again. He's another content creator, so he's been bringing up some good points. But he said that you were a part of that 0-10 team. I think it was Derek Carr's rookie season, right?
Yeah, yeah, that
So
was my final season playing there. Yeah.
and we beat the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, and it's kind of crazy right now. We're on a 7-game losing streak right now, and we're playing the Chiefs on Black Friday.
Mm.
I guess how do you feel like the Raiders could possibly come out with that game? And also, I guess tell us like how your mindset was going like 0-10 and then winning on Thursday Night Football against the Chiefs that year.
I'm one of those guys that that forgets a whole lot of things. I've repressed a lot of emotions. I didn't remember that we were 0-10 going into that game. I do remember winning, and now that you say that, and we're
It
talking
was in
about,
the rain too, and
yeah, it
Charles.
was in the rain. I remember after the game taking a shot with my dad, and he goes, "Yeah, to your first win," and he meant it in a good way. But we were all like, "God, come on,
It was our Super Bowl. It was like our Super Bowl at the moment.
yeah." Yeah, I think there's definitely a shot. I think there's a shot every game. I'm one of those guys that comes out believing that the impossible can happen. And you see, Kansas City barely squeaking by the Panthers last week. I didn't watch that game. I just saw that at the very end, Mahomes had a very slow but long run that put him in field goal range. Um, but I would imagine, especially after almost, having a real close one against the Panthers, that they're going to know, okay, we can't come out not swinging anymore. Like, they're not going to take it easy on us because
Yeah.
that happened. And that's the reality of the NFL. You can't write anybody off, no matter if they're the worst team in the league, because if you do, these are professional athletes and you're going to go down. I can't remember if that was the entirety of the question.
Oh no, yeah. I just whether you feel like we would win, and then also like I guess uh revisiting when we beat the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. 'Cause I remember that time because
Yeah.
I remember Charles Woodson. It was a rainy game. Nobody expected us to win. We were on a losing streak. It was Derek Carr's. It was his rookie season, and I think he threw the game-winning touchdown to James Jones.
Mm,
You remember
that's
playing?
about right. Yeah. Now that you're saying it, I do remember. Well, I do remember Woodson making some cool plays, sliding
Yeah,
in the mud. This guy was just such a baller.
yeah. Did you get to play with Co Moore?
I did, yeah. Co and I, we were Mike and Will that year, so we played
Oh,
right next to each other all season. We were salt and pepper, baby. Yeah.
I love it. Where were you? I forgot which game it was. I think it was that game or another game where he
Theo
celebrated.
balling on that game. We both had, I think, close to
Yeah,
tackles at least. Yeah.
because I remember Co Moore like I think he got like a sack or something, and then he he celebrated or something, and then
Oh, oh yeah. Was that? I can't remember. Was that the Chiefs game that he almost got us
almost
screwed up because of the
a penalty. Yeah, he
celebration?
almost got us a penalty.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Khalil Mack and Co Moore. I remember that.
Yeah, it was that year. I can't remember if it was the Chiefs game or not, but I think it might have been. I
Yeah,
remember Justin Tuck was pissed about that, and and I had in my ear because I had Tarver in my ear all game giving me the
oh
plays
yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
and it was big day, and I hear him going. He goes, "Go, go, go, get Seal, get Seal, get Seal," because Tarver just sees everything like a step ahead of everybody, and he can see Seal's not. He's too fired up. He's not going to
Yeah.
get back to the ball, and I'm like, "What do you mean get Seal?" And I think I was on cover, so I was 40 yards away from him or something.
Yeah.
Uh, at least that's how I remember it. That's so funny.
No, definitely a good time. Well, wasn't a
Yeah,
really good time, but I mean, it was a good game though that time.
yeah.
Um, is there any player right now that you've been watching this year that stood out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot. I like to find the silver linings, but obviously you can't really look past how big Brock Bowers has been. I mean,
Yeah,
he's literally off to shatter like every tight end record ever this year.
he
Yeah,
already broke
except
Darren Waller's. Yeah,
maybe not touchdowns, but receptions and yards, no doubt. I don't know. I wonder how many games there was in the season when Ditka, because Ditka has the yards record right now, I think.
yeah.
And I wonder if they had 12 game seasons back then. Um,
Oh yeah, you're right.
because I know Reggie White, like his record of whatever it is, 22 or 23 sacks in a season, that was in 12 games. It's unreal. Um, but yeah, that dude's such a stud. He's so smooth, and he's got a great mindset. He's humble. He's going to show up and just do work.
Yeah,
No matter what happens, that dude's making plays. He's so dependable. He's been so dependable and so consistent. You're almost like you kind of forget like how good he is until like we realize, oh, we've gone like half the game. We haven't got him the ball. And we're like, what's wrong? Oh, Bowers didn't have the ball. Um, I'd be finding creative ways to get him the ball all the time. Just send him on a little wing, hand it
yeah.
off to him, let him go up the C gap, you just get him the dang ball, bro. Uh,
It's
and he's
yeah.
21 years old, dude. I mean, the way he's balling, and he's 21, like he's got he's our guy for a decade plus. I would, it's barring
I would
injury.
hope, you know.
Yeah,
That's,
if we let them go, somebody's got to get hurt, you know.
that's what I thought about Khalil Mack. And no, I was joking. But I mean, yeah, Brock Bowers has been balling out this year. And I guess one question I always have for myself is whether or not it's because we're a bad team and we have no like real quarterback or other weapons that we're just force feeding him, or he's just a security blanket for us. That's why he's getting. Because remember that the year where I don't know if you recall, but Hunter Renfro had such a big year for us, but it's
Yeah,
because we had no other weapons for Derek Carr, and he was like the number one weapon for us. But I don't think. But then another part of me is like, you know what? Brock is just Brock. He's just great, and maybe it's going to be much better when we do have a better quarterback out there throwing him the ball.
yeah. A couple things like um, Brock. I think what he's shown this year is like he's a stud through and through, regardless. Um, but I never thought about it from that angle of like, yeah, we don't have as much going, so maybe he's having a really big statistical year because of that. Um, but regardless, he's a stud too. I hadn't thought about Renfro and the fact I still think he's a free agent this
Yes,
year.
he hasn't signed with nobody.
You might know more about this than me or what the talk tracks are on him, but that dude is an undeniable stud too. The route running, the crispness, like people could not like the talk track when I was following it, like people were like breaking down his film, like nobody can touch
Oh,
Renfro, dude. This he made this route up. Everybody's copying him. People were copying his routes. How is he not on an NFL football team?
I'm
That is
surprised.
wild to me.
Especially the Saints, like especially with the Saints, like with the whole Chris Olave injury and stuff like that. I would
Yeah,
have thought that they would have at least brought him on. They brought on Foster Moreau, but you
yeah,
know, just to bring him in because he has that rapport with Derek Carr already. I thought they would have done it by now, but I am surprised just as much as you that he's not on the team because he was snatching ankles back in the day. So I
yeah.
I don't know what's up with that though.
Usually you see this kind of thing with studs, if they are too big of a personality or they're causing problems or they're like a locker room problem or something. But that guy was anything but. Like he's a super great dude, super chip, relaxed it seems. And I just don't understand that. That guy's got a lot of good football ahead of him, I would think.
No, for sure. Um, oh, so Ditka did it in 14 games.
14 games. Thank you for that. Yeah, I was going to look that up after this. That's
That's
good to
not a
know.
lot though.
Well, yeah. So we just had. Have we had 11 games then? We had a bye?
Oh, with Bowers right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
like 11
So,
games.
okay. So, yeah, I think he's still on pace to smash that number too. He's at what, 700 something. And I think Dick had eight something.
Yeah. No, he's on pace to break a lot of rookie records for sure.
Yeah.
And even like Raider like receiving records and receptions records. He's already got receptions, but I think
Yeah.
he's on par to get receiving. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah. A couple more questions I have, like just around the NFL before I open up like questions. If anybody wants to ask any questions in the chat, just drop it down below, and we'll answer it after this. But some news came out today, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Was that the Commanders are in talks to bringing back the Redskins? What is your thoughts on that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're actually negotiating to possibly bring the name back. It's kind of crazy because in 2020
Oh, I've got so many thoughts swirling around my head with that.
they changed their
One
name
is
so many times just to go right back. It's crazy.
yeah, one there's been a big reshaping of like there was a period where just culture in general was way too overly sensitive.
Yeah.
Two, like I'm not necessarily the expert to say if that's culturally inappropriate or not. I don't understand that well enough, Redskins. But three, it's like you just changed it. What do you really have in it? Is that you've lost like name recognition a little bit, or their merchandise sales are down because Commanders is way too generic. Like it's clearly a money play if they want to switch it back. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
because
I'm hella surprised that they're even thinking about it right now, especially after how long it took for them to change it and stuff like that.
right. I mean, it's going to be even a bigger money draw to do it, reverse it, unless they think again they probably ran the numbers and thought if we switch it back, we're going to get this much more back in money from sales of. Do you know the talk tracks on that of like why they're thinking of switching that? What
No.
their arguments are? Yeah.
I didn't see too much of it. I just seen that I seen the news and I was like, damn, already.
Yeah, if
Uh,
anybody knows, hit them in the comments because I'm curious to know what their arguments are for wanting to switch that back and how they're tailoring that to say that it's not money. But it is some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, nah, for sure. What is your Super Bowl prediction? Like, what two teams do you see making it to the Super Bowl other than the Raiders, of course?
Almost need to jog my memory of people that are playing really well right now. Obviously, there's the Chiefs,
Chiefs,
the Vikings
Lions,
been playing pretty well. You said, yeah, Lions, right?
Ravens. Yeah,
And okay, oh yeah, Ravens, true. Okay, man, it's hard to get past Chiefs and Ravens. It kind of comes down to who has notoriously played well in January, and can't bet against the Chiefs there. I
yeah,
kind of there's a part of me that roots for the Lions. I really like Dan Quinn. I like his energy. I like how he's. And that's also a great blueprint. Like just seeing like how the NFL handled that compared to how people usually handle it now. Like he didn't play. The team didn't do well his first year there. They weren't just, at least as far as I know, they weren't just writing him off and having everybody say fire him. Like he was passionate. People loved that, and he came back and they gave him a fair shake to do it his way, and he's crushed.
yeah.
I love that, man. And they got a bunch of competitors over there who just love the game. Yeah, I like Lions, Chiefs, and Ravens. I like all those teams. Hard to bet against them.
Yeah, no, I feel it.
How about you?
AP said today, I guess, yeah, let's call it a spade a spade. Best team in football against the worst team in football. Let's change the narrative. I mean, it is the worst and best team.
That's funny. I didn't know he said that. That's yeah,
Well, I guess he just said it today in his press conference. Well,
yeah. He knows the narrative. Okay, yeah.
um, yeah. Oh, as far as like, I've seen some of your commentary that you've been doing on Instagram and stuff like that. Pretty funny with the
Oh
Bobby
yeah.
Boucher and all that. Like, where did that idea come from? Like, just to start doing like more commentary.
Just I like football, and I figured people know me for football, and I've been enjoying following the game this year. But two, I'm a goofball, and I got to get that goof out sometimes. And I like doing comedic stuff. That's kind of one of my main lanes in acting and film and television is action and comedy.
Yeah,
And so I figured, okay, let's feed that. Let's keep hammering the craft. Let's come up with these funny little narratives. But the idea initially sparked because a buddy of mine showed me John Boy Media and how it was like, oh, that looks pretty simple. You can just
yeah,
watch some football and make your commentary of what's going on. And I was like, I'm going
yeah.
to throw like a sketch comedy spin on that and just
Oh
play
yeah.
out different characters and mess around with things and see, what people like and what they don't, and just have fun.
I like it though. It's definitely something different, and hopefully it continues to keep going. Did you
Yeah.
do any Raiders? You haven't done any Raiders ones?
But yeah, I can think maybe I've had a couple clips that were Raiders ones. I did one from Amir Abdullah's touchdown this past week.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
a lot of this is just me like picking the clips off of like YouTube, screen recording it, and just watching it in front of another camera, and I'm just kind of
yeah,
riffing. And then that takes no time, but what takes a lot of time is editing it in the back end and trying to like line things up together. It's like that's the worst, but it's fun. Yeah, we have fun. I like. That's partly who I am. I'm super goofy sometimes, and then other times I'm serious. And so I do a little bit of. I'm just me online. I'll talk
I,
to
and
serious.
I love it though.
Yeah, it's good.
Nah, okay, Buck Snack says, how long do you think that it will take the Raiders to rebuild enough to become a contending team?
That's a good question. My mind keeps coming back to Brady and the fact that he's there, wondering how much input he has, because a big part of that is having the right people upstairs to bring in the right people to run the team. The right coaches, and um, know how to teeter the line of staying out of the way and letting them build their thing, and hiring the right people to do that and giving them a fair shake to do that. And that's even with the best case scenario that can still take a few years. And I was hopeful that John Gruden was going to get there before he got put out.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think it's going to take a situation like that. Um, yeah, I don't know. And again, I think on that note too, like people are talking about will AP stay around? It's like I don't see a reason that he wouldn't, unless there was like a big opportunity like a Gruden or like a Deion Sanders to come in
yeah,
and coach.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you on that though. Like, I definitely do think that Gruden was on par to turning this team around. It took some time, but he had time.
Yeah.
I gave him 10 years to turn it around, but once we were turning it around, obviously, a lot of things came out, and he had to leave. But
Yeah.
I think with this regime right now, I feel, as a Raider fan, I guess I'm always going to think that next year we're going to turn it around. But
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I would think like 1 or 2 seasons to at least put a contending team together. I think that's what it'll take for us.
Mm.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to answer the actual question. How many years? Again, if you get the right coach in place and you give them time, I would say give it 2-3 years. To
yeah.
find his pieces, to have those pieces get familiarized with the same system, and don't keep turning over offensive coordinators every single year. Um, a big part of the game for players is being able to throw it all away and be instinctive. And when
Yeah.
you're constantly having to learn new things, even when you week by week, when you bring in too many different game plan plays and have to learn, like sometimes that gets heady. I know, especially on the defensive side of the ball, some guys some guys are naturally really good X's and O's guys, like say a Luke Kuechly, who's uh, you know on top of that, one of the best athletes to ever play the position and just a dog in every category. But like that kind of person, it's more the rarity
Yeah.
that somebody's going to be a great X's and O's guy, than people who are just like, if you can simplify things to the most simple terms that doesn't give you too many weak spots on your defense, and just in football in general, then people can just go out and be instinctive and see ball, get ball, and just turn it into backyard ball on offense as well. Like it raises the stakes when things are too complicated, because you're constantly worried about screwing up, and dropping the ball because of some, random check that you didn't get because somebody's foot alignment was different on the defense. It's like you got to make it simple for these guys,
Yeah.
and some of that simplicity does come just from the time of being in the same system. And if they know it and they've been familiar with it for years, now every year they come back, Kansas City Chiefs, they've probably known the same stuff every year. And the install is probably super boring, but it's great because now they can just go out there and play ball and not think.
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree with you on that. Daniel Kim, he says, "Who is your favorite quarterback in this upcoming draft?" You probably answered it, but
Yeah, you might be better to speak on this for me. The question I've had, obviously, everybody talks about Shador Sanders and Cam Ward, and don't know enough about and haven't watched enough tape on either of them to speak intelligently about it. The thing I wonder is, like, say if we don't get a top 1 or 2 pick, and we just miss it, even
yeah,
if we're close, like, are there other players, are there other quarterbacks, coming up in this draft that are anywhere in the same stratosphere as those two?
I don't think so. There are a lot of other quarterback options, I would say, but to be like a high draft pick, I don't think so. Because I think if those two are off the board, it would. For me, I would think it'd be best player available, unless they really want to go get another quarterback. Because I think the fall off between those two quarterbacks and the next group, like Jalen Monroe from Alabama,
Oh
Quinn
yeah,
Quinn Ewers from Texas, who I love because he's on my team, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss.
yeah,
I feel like those guys would be more of later first round picks or second round picks, but
right.
who knows depending on because the draft, those run on quarterbacks. Once somebody gets quarterbacks, everybody's trying to
Yeah.
pick up because like this year, Bo Nix was supposed to be a second round pick and Michael Penix was supposed to be a second round pick, but
Oh really?
those
Okay.
yeah, considered, like
Yeah.
but their teams that really wanted them went out
Hmm.
and got him. But I guess if I had to give my favorite quarterback, I think it'd be Shador.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody's consensus, other than Cam Ward, because he's
Yeah.
another guy that a lot of people want.
Yeah, no doubt. What was I going to say on that? I forgot about Quinn Ewers
Yeah,
and Monroe. Here's the likely thing too. It's like the people coming into the draft. Everything is, there's always these guys that are far and above, and then what really shakes out during the season is people get pissed. Oh, we let this guy go, and it's like everybody else had him down there too.
yeah, yeah.
Likelihood is like one of those guys is going to outperform at least one of the top guys.
Oh,
And
always. It's always
and
like
so like it's like I one forgot about those two in general. I'm glad you brought them up. Um, because that's really interesting with Quinn Ewers as well. Because last year wasn't he like a lock to be a first rounder, like a pretty high first
Yes.
rounder? And so that's the narrative thing again that we were talking about. Just because he got the injury, he had Manning step in there, and maybe he didn't play some of his best ball. The team wasn't as good.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden his stock is down, but that doesn't make him not just as good of a player. Like if anything, he's 21 years old, is not even hit his prime yet.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, you a lot of these quarterbacks is just going to depend on the situation that they're in because uh, it- for the past couple of years, most of the quarterbacks that don't get drafted in the top two always pan out better than those top quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes was the third quarterback taken out of their draft. You look at Josh Allen; he was taken later on too.
Yeah,
And
seven.
yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. Shit, Derek Carr for his year was a better quarterback than who was it?
He was a
Oh,
second.
Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles' year.
Oh yeah,
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 yeah. So it's like like you
yeah,
can't always bank on the top guys, but everybody expects them. I mean,
yeah,
look at Trevor Lawrence right now. Like he was the consensus number one, and right now the Jags have been like struggling still with him.
yeah,
No matter who they got over there, but I I feel like if we're able to get those top two guys, then I think that's going to be the answer for the Raiders.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
let me.
probably got to be a balance. Like, say if the top two are off the board and we don't have pick one or two, I'm sure they're going to have their metrics on. Okay, we're going to go really make a play for somebody, a good quarterback, and pay a hefty price in free agency, or we take Monroe or Ewers or whoever else they deem the next pick because
Yeah,
you got to deal with the quarterback position. You have to this offseason.
no, that's a big need for sure. Demetrio, I'll answer probably two more. Demetrio says, would you be open to having John Gruden back as the head coach for the Raiders? Could you imagine him and Brady in the building?
Hell yeah, I think it'd be great. I mean, Gruden loves football. He loves football. People love him. You can't. He's very true to who he is,
Yeah,
and you can't hide that. You can't hide that he loves the game, and that I think is infectious. Um, I follow his YouTube channel. He still stays
yeah,
really in tune with exactly what's going on in the league. He knows all the trends. It's not like he's passed up and he's old school now, and he doesn't like. He knows football like
yeah,
nobody else. Um, and so, yeah, I think he brings a toughness too, and he likes to bring in guys that are tough. Um, I would love if he was the coach again.
yeah, for sure. One more. This Cedric, he said, "Do you think it's funny watching adult male fans wearing jerseys, basically wearing a shirt with another man's name on it?"
No, I've heard that argument before.
Oh,
I
for
think
real?
I've heard people saying, you're gonna wear somebody else's name and their family name on your back. Like you need to be living your own life. It's a lot of these like alpha males that want to really assert themselves and act like they're way cooler than they are. The reality is, I think it's a really good thing to be fans of other people, and you can use whatever terminology you want for fan, but it's
Yeah,
good to look up to other people and to see what's possible to model certain attributes that jump out to you because that's something telling you that you have that inside you as well and you want that to come
yeah,
out of yourself. I think we don't learn anything unless we've seen it first, unless we model that off of somebody else. I think it's really a good thing, and you can find a way to parlay whatever you learn from anybody in a sport to different areas of your life.
no, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. That's the first time I heard it. It's kind of like, I guess, like being a fan of anything, or wearing another guy on your shirt. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like a wrestling fan, so I've always got like other wrestlers on my shirt. So I
yeah.
don't see no problem with it.
Oh man,
But
yeah.
it is what it is, man. But before we get out of here, man, since Thanksgiving is around the corner, I wanted to ask one more question, man. What are three things that you need to have on your plate for
Ooh,
Thanksgiving?
yeah, it's a great question. If I only get three, I'd probably kick turkey out of there. Turkey, if it's done wrong, it's always dry. It's just I'm
I
a big
haven't eaten a
stuffing
good
guy.
turkey
Stuffing
leg for
number one. Um,
stuffing. Okay,
yeah, I like sweet potato pie when it's got like the melted marshmallows on there.
okay,
And then I'm a honey baked ham guy. If I got to throw a protein on there, I'll get some honey baked ham up in there.
yeah,
Yeah, I could
okay.
be still a happy guy if I only got those three. Yeah.
No, I feel it. I feel it, man.
What do you-
Again, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. If you guys don't know already, man, Miles Burris has his own YouTube channel. you can let them know where they can find you and stuff like that. You do a lot of Raider breakdowns and even other stuff on there too. So you could let the people know where they can find you and where they can
Yeah.
subscribe to all that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm on at Miles Burris Official on YouTube, at Miles James Burris on TikTok and Instagram,
Mhm.
and I think that's most of it there. Yeah, and so you'll get a smorgasbord of different stuff on my channels, but I do have a playlist just for Raider stuff, so you can tune into that on YouTube.
No, no, for sure, man. Again, appreciate you coming on, man. Until the next one, guys, we are out of